What if I told you that there's a skill that you can have that allows you to draw in any style and eventually animate in a different style? What if I told you this isn't just an animation skill, but it's a drawing skill? It allows you to draw different things, get out of your comfort zone, and get rid of drawing habits that hinder your skills of drawing. This is a skill that I would teach first when introducing someone to drawing, and in fact, a lot of drawing instructors do this practice when teaching their students this skill. This skill is called observation, and observation allows you to do things like capture life, break down your references, and eventually recreate them. A lot of people ask me questions about where they should start when learning how to draw for animation. Should they do basic cartooning, or should they just do life drawing, or should they just do perspective drawings first? These are all valid ways to get better at drawing, but honestly, having strong observation skills will let those other practices benefit so much better to you. And in this video, I'll be talking about blind contour drawing, a great way to improve your observational skills. Hey guys, it's Toniko Pantoja, and today I would like to talk about blind contour drawing. Now, some of you guys may have heard of this practice, and a lot of drawing teachers love to introduce this practice to people learning how to draw, and for good reason too. First of all, what is it? The practice of blind contour drawing is basically you're drawing a subject without looking at your drawing, the paper or the screen of your tablet. So if you're drawing from a figure or a model, your eyes are only on that figure or model. This teaches hand-to-eye coordination, training the eye and the hand to work together in tandem. This, to me, the biggest benefit of blind contour drawing is that it unlocks observation skills and it forces you to dismiss any memorized drawing symbols or methods for drawing. So this means that if you have a certain habit of drawing the eyes or the nose, this gets rid of that, and it forces you to look at the reference, the figure, or the model in a different perspective and light. Observation skills are super important, especially if you're trying to emulate a different style or if you're trying to draw the character from a model sheet and recreate that. You need observation skills to study that reference and be able to use those studies to recreate it. Again, it eliminates bad drawing habits. So let's say you have same face syndrome, or you can't get out of this drawing habit where you're only drawing hair the certain way or anything. It eliminates that. And the reason why bad drawing habits exist is that you're usually afraid to make mistakes, so you resort to things that feel safe to you. Blind contour drawing is a great reminder that this is not meant to produce good drawings. This forces you to not give a damn about how good the drawing looks. It's meant just to observe and to train the hand-to-eye coordination alone. So when you do blind contour drawings, you're going to get work that looks, pretty crap, but in the end, you're going to gain so much out of it. There are many ways you can practice blind contour drawing. A lot of drawing teachers have students face each other while they're drawing each other's faces without looking at their sketchbook or their drawing pad. So you can actually have a friend in front of you and just try drawing their face without looking at your drawing itself. You can also use a mirror if you wanted to. And this is sort of just to get you in that observation mode, just constantly analyzing the contour and shape of your subject. You can also use live drawing classes or cafe sketching, drawing the figure or the subject without looking at your sketchbook. Sometimes you can use media references, pictures, magazines, or any form of other media without looking at your drawing. How does one properly practice blind contour drawing? Well, the number one rule is just to not look at your drawing at all. And if you do look at your drawing, just look at it once or very rarely, but preferably nothing at all. No looking at the drawing. And this is meant to teach you how to be okay with making mistakes and for you to be braver. Blind contour allows you to do that. It allows you to not care about your drawing and to be okay with making mistakes. So, just don't look at how precious your drawing looks. You're just in it for the observation. Personally, I would like to do these practices preferably long, more than 2 minutes. Anything faster, you're probably just going to draw one aspect. But the reason why I say preferably long is when you're studying or observing something, you really want to spend time really absorbing that subject, really breaking it down and just feeling it out while you're drawing it. Any time length is good, really. It really depends on your goals, and it really depends how fast or how slow you want to do these. But ultimate thing to remember is that, make sure you're really gaining out of it. Really make sure that you're studying the shapes and the contour of your subject. So really spend all that time feeling and capturing that model through observation alone. Another thing that came to mind is if you were to ask how should one draw blind contour, honestly, anything goes as long as you're just looking at your subject or your figure without looking at your drawing. But when I think about it some more, I would honestly avoid any sketchy lines like this, like doing lines like this, just constantly going back and just drawing over your previous line. And I would honestly just draw 1 or 2 continuous lines. And the point of this practice is to just look and feel the contour of what you're looking at. So let's say if I'm looking at a contour, or the silhouette of a person, I'm kind of just tracing the outline of that person. And by doing this continuous line and doing things really slow, you're actually forcing yourself to look at something, and really you're not really caring too much about whether you're making sure the drawings make sense. For this practice, I'm using a website called references.sketchdaily.net. So a lot of the pictures that I'll be showing here are from that website. If you don't have access to life drawing or gesture drawing classes, this is a great option. You can adjust the gender, the clothing, the poses, the body part. And it's not just humans, it also includes animals, structures, and vegetation. So again, I'm going to be doing these digitally because it's easy for me to teach and record these demos while doing it all in real time and editing this video together. So I'm just going to look at this model, and I'm going to start with her eyes actually. I'm just going to feel it out. There are times where I'm just not going to let go of the pen tip on the surface of my pen display. And sometimes I'll let it go, like right now, to jump to the other eye. If you saw my face right now, I'm not looking at my drawing at all. So you can probably tell that my drawing, I don't even know what it looks like right now. It might end up looking really wonky already. And that's fine, because the thing here is I'm not really caring about how precious the drawing looks. I'm really just focused on feeling out the hair, the model, and the contour. There are times where I do catch myself spending more time on a minute detail of the face, and you know what? That's okay too. This means that you're really focused on capturing a point of interest of the subject. Like right now, I'm looking at her hair, and there are times where I'm just like, should I just capture each strand as I can, or should I really just capture the general shape? So right now, I'm capturing a general shape, and there are times where I do want to really sculpt all those strands. Now I'm going towards her neck, and for the neck, I can actually see shapes of the muscle. Like now, I'm like gonna feel out. Okay, maybe we get some of the muscles. We see the some shapes. Maybe now I'm looking at the contour of the lighting. Sometimes you can even make lines depending on the shadow, the cast shadow, and what shapes it makes. Now I'm looking at the flower on her blouse or her dress, and I'm now drawing the ribbons and such. Now I'm going towards her breast and then her waist. And now I'm just like feeling out the model. And you can tell I'm probably feeling, okay, by now, maybe I can scroll down. I'm not looking at my drawing. I can scroll down and really just draw the next parts of the model. And I catch myself going from one spot to the next, from her belly to her dress. Then I'll go back to a bottom part of her dress, and so on. I honestly really want to look at this drawing right now just to see where I'm at. But you know what? You really have to learn how to trust yourself and being okay with screwing up. This is also, to me, like, this is also challenging my humility, because there are times where I'm just like, dude, I know it's gonna look like shit, but I like how it's forcing me not to care. I'm gonna go back up to her shoulder. And I honestly should have just like continuously just figured or stayed on one subject, but sometimes I do this, and that's okay. It's one of those things where you can challenge yourself in the next practice. So now I'm drawing her other arm, and again I'm just feeling the silhouette of her arm to her hand, and now I'm drawing her thumb, and then I'm probably gonna jump to her other shoulder and then draw that arm. I don't think I'm going to draw the feet because I think I'm running out of space. I feel that I'm running out of space. Okay, so I feel like now I'm kind of just scribbling. So I'll catch myself just scribbling and really not feel out the drawing. So now I'm trying to remind myself, okay, now I'm just going to feel out the thumb. I'm going to feel out her fingernail and then go back. Because sometimes I like to just make shapes that I know of what I know about construction and drawing the hand, and that's not the point. The point here is I really have to trust my eye and my hand to eye coordination. So I'm just feeling out the fingers. I think now's a good time to look back, and yeah, so you can kind of get a sense of, you know, what I was trying to draw and how I was feeling it. And these are decisions that I can see I would never make. Like, I would never draw a facial feature doing this. It's something that I wouldn't do, but it's interesting to know that because I was just looking at mere observation, it allowed me to look at things at a different light. I'm going to try, and again, maybe I'll start with the torso this time. So I'm going to start with her V-neck color or whatnot, and I'm just going to feel it out. And sometimes I'll notice my pen just glide outside the contour of her overall silhouette and just go straight to the cloth wrinkles, the contour of the wrinkles, the shading, or the shadow of some of the cloth. And you know what? This is like, oh, this is just me really feeling out and sort of interpretive sculpting the figure while I draw it. And now I'm going up to her breast, and then more cloth wrinkles, and then back to the V-neck. And I notice there's her jacket, so it kind of goes like that, and then down, and then it would make a big shape. And honestly, I would just draw through it, but because I'm like, okay, there's her leg is in the way, so I'm just actually just gonna feel out the silhouette and just really feel it out. And I might be drawing off the page. I have the sense that I am. I can kind of see it with the bottom of the corner of my eye, and I'm just gonna go back, and you know, I'll probably be forced to shrink how I set these proportions up. So I'm drawing the other leg, just feeling the silhouette, feeling her other shoe, and oh look, her shoelace is part of that silhouette, so I'm gonna add that too. And then I'm just going to feel out the contour and the patterns of her shoe, and then make my way back to the silhouette of the outsides of her shoe, and then go to her calf, back to her knee. There's cloth wrinkles, and then I go back to her hip, which goes back to a part of the cloth that's completely wrinkled. And I'm gonna see if I can. Now I'm drawing the other arm, and I'm just gonna draw the silhouette as I feel it. I notice, oh shit, the jacket is hiding her hand, but there are inklings of it through her fingers sticking out of the sleeve, I mean. And then we go back to her torso. And then I'm probably just gonna, you know, not leave the pencil, even though I did, and go back, try and find my way back to her shoulder, get to her hair, and then I'm feeling her hat. And then it's kind of like a fedora. So there are things where I don't notice any of this. Like, I'm not really cautious about what I'm looking at, but the more I observe and spend my time, I'm like now thinking, oh, she has dyed hair. Oh, she has a checkered, like a plaid jacket. And it's not really clear where her other arm is, but I can kind of see her other sleeve just being loose. And it's one of those things where it really forces you to observe. and I'm going to make my way up to her face. So I'm going to start with her forehead. I'm actually just going to make the shape of the face first if I can. Her ear just, it's a very subtle ear, but it's hidden by the shadow, and then go back to the point of her hair. And then now I'm going to slowly draw her eyes. And then the nose, I'm going to actually feel out the structure of the nose, like the shape it makes, rather than just draw the overall general shape that it makes. I'm actually feeling out some of the muscle it's making. And again, I'm not looking at my hand or the drawing. And then I'm going to go back, make my way back to the eyelashes. And I feel like, I notice I catch myself making symbols of the eyelash like that, because it's a quick drawing habit. But for here, now I'm forced to like really pay attention to the folds, the eye fold, and the individual eyelashes. And for her mouth, you know, she's got side cheeks, and then I'm just like looking at the shape, and now I'm like focusing on the teeth, and I feel like this drawing is going to feel really weird once I'm done looking at it. And then I'm going to stop and look at my drawing, and now see, look at this. This doesn't look like anything. And you know what? That's okay, because I spent more time really feeling out the model rather than trying to make a perfect drawing. And that's the point of blind contour drawing. I'm not really caring about how good the drawing looks. I'm just really using it to train my hand and my eye together. Now, the more I do this, the more I'll probably get better at feeling out proportions better. Now I'm going to choose another model, and this one I'm probably going to see if I can try and draw the whole thing, the whole silhouette. So I'm just going to draw the silhouette of it first, and really just pay attention to the silhouette, because it's a clear silhouette. Again, you know, there are so many ways you can tackle blind contour drawing, and you can do it through just feeling the surface, the folds, the creases, and then there are times where you just want to feel the overall silhouette of the model, and it forces you to look at things at a different light. I keep saying that, but I really mean it. It really forces you to not resort to everything you know about drawing. It's kind of like forcing you to relearn how to draw certain things, and you're drawing just through observation alone. Now I'm going to make my way up to the waistline, to the belt that's on this figure, and then back to the top part, which is then it shifts to the elbow pad, to the arm, to the hand. It's a handgun, so I'm looking at the fingers, and then the trigger part, and then the barrel, and just feeling out the contour. And then I'm going to make my way back to the head, and let's see what that looks like. So honestly, I really like how that looks. It kind of looks like a stylized character pose or character design. And from here, you know, you can add shapes if you wanted to. You can add more shapes. But you know what? I'm going to keep continuing this tradition. I'm going to look back at the drawing without looking at the drawing. I'm just going to look at the model. So I'm looking at the arm. And now I'm going to pay attention to some of the cloth folds. And you learn so many things. Like, I'll say, oh, I've always drawn cloth folds a certain way, but this is forcing me to really look at things a bit more organically, and oh, those are shapes I would not see myself drawing. And with blind contour, you start noticing that you're making drawing decisions that you would never make, and it's all subconscious. Well, I mean, it is conscious, but for me, it's like, because I'm not looking at my drawing and I'm just basing off my drawing on what my eye is looking at, I can't resort to any drawing technique or skill that I would know. The sleeve pattern, and then the wrinkles in the glove, and this might already be off the hand. And then I'm going to draw some of the details on the gun, the clip, and some of the contour of the barrel. And then I can probably feel my way back to where the hood ends, and draw that as a face, and then see, okay, I'm gonna feel my way through the cloth and stuff. And when I look back at it, like, again, it just leaves this shape completely. But you know what? Again, I'm okay with it because I'm not precious about this drawing, and it really forced me to be okay with making mistakes. It looks cool when I look at it. I actually like the way it looks, and it allows for some accidental mistakes or accidental coolness. Now, one of the reasons why I decided to make a video on blind contour drawing is because I get a lot of DMs of people asking questions about how to start drawing, where do they begin, and what are some solutions to get out of bad drawing habits and such. And the response I would always give is to work on their observation skills and to practice things like the blind contour, which forces you not to be careful or comfortable in making your drawing look beautiful. The reason why I like the blind contour drawing is that although you may feel uncomfortable doing it because you have no idea what your drawing is going to look like or how it's going to turn out, it kind of forces you to be okay with making these decisions or being very analytical about the subject more than how the drawing looks. Because there are many times where when we're drawing, we add our own flair and touches to the point where it doesn't really resemble our subject. We didn't really study our subject. We just added our own flair and resorted back to things that were comfortable to us. Another thing I'd like to add is that a lot of people also ask for drawing guides on how to draw the face, how to draw the eyes, and there are lots of great guides. Andrew Loomis, how he draws and constructs the head is really great. Bern Hogarth, Bridgman, and how he deconstructs the human anatomy. These are all great materials, but you also have to know that these are other artists who studied from life and found their own solutions and how to recreate them and break them down and study them. These are their ways of making language for us to understand. But you also have to consider that these methods don't work on everything. So the Loomis head won't work in some heads, some proportions of heads. A customized or modified version of that drawing method may work to your advantage, but sometimes, that method won't work alone. Or if you were to draw cartoon heads, animal heads, anime heads, the Andrew Loomis method, some aspects of it would work, but not everything about it would work in that style. And if you only just keep referring to the way these artists break down and reconstruct the figure, then you're kind of building a wall for yourself. You're kind of resorting to a habit that you can only draw the figure or a certain part of the figure or a subject through these methods. Whereas with blind contour drawing, you're spending more time studying from life and really analyzing the contours and the shapes of the thing that you're looking at. To me, at this point, when you're doing blind contour drawing, you're not really caring about how to find ways to recreate it or to find ways to break it down. And that's another lecture on its own, and I'll probably talk about in the future. But the point of blind contour drawing is to really focus on observation and to draw from what the eye is seeing and how to train that eye to work in tangent with your hand, making that drawing. But like I said, the blind contour also really forces you to practice that eye training, that training of the eye. So when you're studying a model sheet for a character design or you're studying a different style, you have to look at things and factors about that style that make that style stand out and why that style exists, rather than, copying a style but then saying, oh, you know what, I'm going to try and add my own flair and fix it. And what happens is that you resort back to the bad drawing habits you may have and change the drawing to the point that it doesn't resemble the original material. And, in animation, you have to be able to work with other designs and other styles. Another saying that may be familiar to you is draw what you see, not what you think you see, because a lot of us, again, going back to the bad drawing habits, is we have a collection of a mental library of all these symbols we have for drawing a nose or any aspect or anything. We always resort to the same shape or some shapes that we know. But with blind contour drawing, when I was drawing some of these noses, I was finding myself in positions where I would never consider approaching a nose like this. And you know what? I can get what I can get from this session of blind contour drawing, break it down, see what I did, and add that to my mental library. So with blind contour drawing, I'm adding new things that I discovered accidentally through blind contour. So these are all the blind contour drawings I did in a blind contour drawing exercise, and I'm going to talk about what I learned from each of them. Now, just by looking at it, each of them look like weird abstract pieces of art, and I wouldn't really use these to best reflect my skills. But what I like about seeing these drawings is that it shows that I approach things unconventionally, and shows things and ways of drawing that I wouldn't even consider at all. Like, I like how I approached this hair. I like how I felt the contour of that, and just by looking at this part of the hair, it's like, okay, maybe I can use this as an element of design in other pieces of drawings when I do approach the hair. So I like this drawing a lot, and I like the silhouette. Just by looking at the silhouette alone, there's a lot of stylization with the proportions, and you know, now I'm looking at, whoa, I would never approach a foot like this, because normally when I draw a foot, I would actually just draw a basic shape and leave it as that. But there's so much more to it. There's more details about what the shoe is made out of and what it's composed out of. And by looking at this shape, I'm not really sure what it is, but I can tell that it is part of the costume. And just by looking at the contour or the silhouette of these shapes, it's like you can get really imaginative. I'm learning that I could use these line patterns if I were to approach cloth again, because usually when I approach cloth, and let's say an elbow is bending, I would just draw lines and make sure the silhouette or the shape of the outside lines match with those lines. But here it's all very organic, and sometimes it's just really, really continuous, and that's what I like about it. Same with this, like you're getting really weird creases, and these are things that I'm looking at and kind of downloading them into my mental library of symbols. As for these life drawings, again, usually when I approach life drawing, I would try and figure out the angles of the pelvis, the hips, the ribs and the hips, and break down the construction, break it down to simple shapes. And you know what? This is great stuff too, like learning how to be able to do that. But then by looking at this, it's like, okay, I actually just here, oh, maybe I was feeling the muscles, and the more I look at it, I'm like, oh shit, I was actually looking at lighting. Maybe the lighting affected the way in how I approach these drawings. And approaching this allows you to experiment with how to observe and how to download what you're observing and how to study them. Same with these expressions. Like, this nose is crazy weird, because usually when I draw the nose, again, I would come up with symbols that I already know. Symbols from when I was drawing cartoons and just trying to feel it out. But I was just feeling the contour of things at this point, and really feeling the cartilage. And that's what's so special about blind contour drawing. It's making you do things that you wouldn't necessarily do. It's subconscious, or maybe it's conscious the more you think about it, but then usually, because you're not looking at your drawing, and you can't really look at your drawing while drawing these, it's forcing you just to look at it and let your hand feel the movement by your eye. So that was my talk on blind contour drawing, and something that I would advise you guys to do if you're learning how to draw or you're trying to get out of a bad drawing habit. There are so many methods and approaches to drawing that many artists in the past have made. But you also have to keep remembering that these are just tools. And ultimately, you don't want to just depend on one tool. You want to be able to be comfortable getting out of comfort zones. And remember, animation, cartooning, they're all emulations from life. So really use those visual observation skills when studying life. And what makes that one small aspect the most unique thing about that subject? Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Interested in learning hand-drawn animation or learning how to finish an animated shot from beginning to end? Have a look at the store where you'll find the complete Introduction to 2D Animation video course, tutorials, and other resources. Learn classical animation approaches, drawing, lectures, techniques, and other process videos. Visit the store through the link in the description below.